5 feet. That was all I needed to reach the top of the rope. 5 feet had never looked so far away. I was 15 feet above the ground, hanging on for dear life to a rope dangling from a massive steel structure. My grip was shot, and I could hardly even hear the hundreds of screaming spectators in the Home Depot Center in Carson, California. I was hot, drenched in sweat, and utterly exhausted. I released my left hand to grab the rope above my right. Almost 6 minutes into attempting to conquer this stinking 20-foot rope climb, I was absolutely determined to make it to the top. But in the final event of the 2010 CrossFit Games, after 3 days of being run through a physical and mental ringer like nothing I had ever experienced, it was all I could do to get my left hand up and onto the rope. I began kicking my legs, looking for every possible bit of momentum to help me make it to the top. By this point, I was so far behind the competition, I knew I wouldn't come close to finishing the workout before the 12-minute time cap. But there was no way I was going to fail on this attempt. I had already failed more times than I could count. When I finally reached the top and stretched my left hand up to touch the bar the rope was hanging from, there was no time for celebration. I could tell right away that my right hand wasn't going to be able to hold up my weight on its own. I put my left hand back on the rope, below my right one, but the downward slide had begun, and my arms and shoulders were too taxed to stop it. The friction from the rope ripped into my palms and fingers. My burning hands reacted by doing what made sense to them. They let go. The landing, 20 feet below, was abrupt and awkward. My pride hit the ground first, then my heels, and the momentum of the fall rocked me backward. My butt was the next to make contact with the ground. The back of my head and neck struck an orange bucket of chalk next to the rig. Physically and mentally spent, I didn't even feel the landing. It wasn't until later that I learned just how hard I had fallen. And it wasn't until the event was finished that I learned just what the rope failure had cost me: the CrossFit Games Championship and title of Fittest Man on Earth. It would have made for a great story. A complete unknown from small-town Tennessee coming out of nowhere to defeat the greatest CrossFit athletes in the world. But then, the rope. 2 years and 2 Games championships later, I still get asked by those in the CrossFit community about that rope and how it cost me the title. They suggest if it hadn't been for the rope, I would be a 3-time Games champion. But the truth is, if not for that rope, I don't think I would be a 3-time champ, or even a 2-time champ. I am convinced I would not have won another Games. There's something those people don't know about the rope, or me. The rope changed my life.